Hello, hello. Welcome to Half Josh Cast. This is Chell My Barasan, just coming at you with a quick video. Gonna be doing just some quick thoughts that I had. It's been a minute since we've done a DuoQueue podcast. Apologize for that. Been a quick minute since we've done a DuoQueue podcast, so just wanted to do a couple quick thoughts. Things that we've been thinking about, talking about behind the scenes. So let's get right into the video. First league we're going to talk about LCS just started this last weekend. 2 weekends ago, actually. I forgot that we are now 2 weeks into it. But we wanted to go ahead and I know we're 2 weeks in, but we've talked about this tier list before, and it hasn't changed over the 2 weeks that we've had the broadcast. So gonna still do a tier list. You can say it's cheating, but we're gonna do a tier list, and I feel like nothing has really changed over these 2 weeks, personally, at least. First team that we're gonna put into the tier list, though, I feel like it's pretty obvious. We're gonna put Cloud9 in that S tier. I mean, you look at their roster; they have 3 MVP winners. They were the best team last year, I would argue, even though they lost in the finals to NRG. I think overall they were the best team, and they upgraded their two weakest positions. Um, Not that Sven was a liability, but the meta often wouldn't fit his playstyle. But now they have Vulcan, who I feel is much more versatile and can improve the team in a lot of different ways. So for me, clear S tier. Next team that we're going to put on here is NRG. I'm going to put them in A tier. I think Cloud9 is a tier above the other teams in the league. But NRG to me is that next tier in the A tier. Solid roster. I mean, they won the summer split last year and did really good at Worlds. The only concern I have with them is bringing in Huhi. I think him and FBI will play well together. We've seen that on 100 Thieves. But how is that going to change the team dynamics as far as shot calling and team fighting and all these other things? Because NRG has come out and they've talked about that, saying that they are they all like to give their opinion on how to play the game, and Huhi is definitely a player that likes to, I wouldn't say likes to be in charge, but definitely has an opinion and is going to share his opinion with you on the game, and often feels like he is correct. And you've seen that oftentimes he is correct. Saw that with Golden Guardians, and I think he was a huge part of 100 Thieves when you look at that roster and when they were very successful. There wasn't a lot of people on that roster with Someday Closer, Abadage, who were really too vocal, and even FBI as far as personality goes, but who he was kind of that driving force there. So I definitely think they are that A tier. And then I'm gonna put FlyQuest as well into this A tier. Again, they have pretty solid roster. Uh, they have a really good team that is full of veterans, but also full of has some new talent on the team. Um, Inspired easily could be the best jungler in the league. I feel like him and Blabber are probably about the same level as far as talent goes. And Inspired, I feel like, can be that facilitator, can be that carry, just like Blabber can be on Cloud9. As far as the other pieces go, we'll have to see with FlyQuest bot lane. That's why I have them A tier and third, I guess, in the rankings behind NRG. Is to me, there's question marks on Masu and Busio. I think they're both really talented, and we've seen over the first 2 weeks that they are extremely talented. But what hiccups are we going to run into? I wouldn't say it's a long season anymore with just 14 games, but there's going to be some learning curve that goes with them as a brand new bot lane and new players. The next tier, and this is where Graylit, she's not here today, but I'm sure this is where he might disagree with me. I am going to put Team Liquid in B tier. I feel like a lot of people would probably have put them in A tier. I just have some question marks on Team Liquid. My internet is not working right now for some reason. Let's... Why are you not working? Okay, let's see if that works. Okay. Okay, so sorry about that. A little distracted. My internet was bugging out for whatever reason. All right, we're back at it. Okay, here we go. So, Team Liquid. Team Liquid has some question marks for me. Specifically in mid lane and jungle. I feel like Impact, you know what you're going to get with Impact. He's reliable. He didn't have a great year last year, but he, for the most part, you know what you're going to get with Impact, and he's a consistent top laner. I feel like part of last year was not his fault. FlyQuest just kind of imploded in a lot of different areas, so I'll give him a pass on that. My biggest question marks I have are in the jungle with UMT and APA, and not necessarily about the players themselves, but more so how they're going to work together. I do have some questions about APA's champion pool. It can be a little suspect at times, and I know he's come out and said that a lot of that was communication issues or the team not trusting him, but we'll have to see how APA and MT work together. But I still think that they will be a top 4 team. I think they'll do well in the regular season, and they'll have no issue making playoffs, and they'll be a decent. I think they'll take a couple games off some of these top tier teams. Like I could see them beating a Cloud9 or an NRG or FlyQuest. Next team that I'm gonna put in the tier list is Shopify Rebellion. I feel like Shopify, I really like Insanity. I think he was one of the better players in the league last year. I think him being on the new system with the live patch will be really helpful. And I feel like he worked extremely well with Boogie, and once you get some more games and experience under their belt, that's gonna take off even more. So I'm expecting a lot from this duo. The question marks I have are what they're gonna do bot lane, because I know they've talked about Wild Turtle and B-Boy and kind of seeing how each one performs. We've seen in the past that often doesn't work too well. That can lead to other issues on the team or other issues player wise. So we'll have to see how that pans out for them. And I'm not sure about Fake God and Zazel. Zazel looked pretty good on when he was with Cloud9, but ever since then there's been some question marks for Zazel. So we'll have to see how he's going to work with Wild Turtle and B-Boy, if he's going to be able to bounce back and forth between the two AD carries, or if they're going to do a duo swap like other teams have done in the past, where Zeyzal might play with Wild Turtle, but then B-Boy plays with a different support. So we'll have to see how that goes. I don't double check here, but I don't think that they have an academy, or not academy, but a challengers team. It doesn't appear that they have a challengers team. So they do have Tomio as he's a jungler sub, but and they could bring back some other players like I'm not sure how they're gonna handle that situation. It'll be interesting to see, because teams are steering away from those bigger rosters and really focusing on 5-6 players instead of the usual 10, 12, 15 sometimes. That's some of the older rosters we're doing. But I still think that they'll be decent. I think they'll make playoffs. To me, there's a clear divide between. There's kind of, that's why it's a tier list. But to me, there's a divide between Team Liquid and Shopify. Not big enough divide where they're a different tier, but big enough where I think that there's this gap between the two teams, if that makes sense. I still think they're in the same tier. I think they can potentially be as good as Team Liquid, but I think that Team Liquid gets an edge on them. The other team that I'm going to put in B tier here is 100 Thieves. And I'm going to put them in B tier because I like the direction that they are going. I think River is an extremely good jungler, and I think that makes a big difference, especially when you have younger players like Sniper, Quid, and Meech, and Ayla, really. Having a veteran jungler that can control the map and control the early game makes a huge difference for a team, especially a young team. Just like with Shopify, I think there's a definitive line between them and the top 4 teams, but I think that 100 Thieves is a playoff team. I think that they will, which we've already seen, that they can win some games, and they can have some diversity in their draft, and that they're willing to try different things with these rookies, which I think is really cool. And I like that they're bringing up these young players that are exciting and fun to watch, and you're excited to see what they're doing. And I'm excited to see Golden Glue as a coach and see how he does. See if he can get his team in the right direction, figure out what they want to do, how they want to play the game. Last 2 teams. Unfortunate, because I like a lot of the players on these teams. I just don't see a way that they come together. C tier, first team I'm going to put in C tier is Dignitas. I like some of the pieces. I like Rich. I like XU. Dove, I am not sure about. From what we've seen so far in the first 2 weeks, it hasn't been great. I wasn't very high on him before the first 2 weeks, so I'm not glad, because I want to see everybody succeed in some way, but also kind of expected with him. And then Tomo he had some flashes last year, but I wasn't very sold on him. And then Isles, from his last time in the league, wasn't impressed, and there's not much going on right now with him. Not much to talk about there, but I do think that they'll be just right outside. I think 100 Thieves and Dignitas will be competing for that last playoff spot, and 100 Thieves will get that edge over Dignitas. Last team on the list, and I'm sorry, Greylich. I know you're not here to defend your boys here, but Immortals. There's not much to say about this team. I feel bad, but I like Ole. We'll have to see how Ole performs. He was okay in the first 2 weeks. So still not great. To me, tactical is just so hot and cold. You never know what you're gonna get. I like Armeo as a jungler. I don't know how he'll fit with two Korean solo laners. I think that will be hard to communicate and be able to control the early game, which will be a big issue. And I think that's, I mean, if you've been following the scene lately, you probably heard Jensen saying that Korean solo laners in the LCS it's not good. And I think part of that is that communication issue. It's so important to be able to control the early game and to be able to control the enemy jungler. That if you have that language barrier, then you're gonna struggle a lot. So that's my LCS tier list for the spring split, the 2024 spring split. Looking at the standings here, I mean, it pretty much falls in line with what we are saying. Shopify Rebellion is down there, but I think they should have won a couple more games than they did. In week 1, it was their game against. Yep, it was Team Liquid. That's who it was. The game against Team Liquid, it felt like they lost the game more than Team Liquid won the game, which I think will be a common issue with some of these bottom teams. Is they'll be able to get some leads, but then they'll kind of throw them away. To me, 100 Thieves looked like I was talking about. River looks good. He's able to control that early game. You saw that against Team Liquid and Dignitas. Even the Cloud9 game, they had some moments where they could have done something, but just didn't make the right plays. And FlyQuest has also looked pretty good. I mean, they've had a pretty easy schedule for the most part. They did lose to NRG. Cloud9 beat NRG, so it's kind of had this little thing of the top teams feasting on each other so far. And in week 3 coming up, we have FlyQuest and C9 playing each other. So that'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes. That's on the Saturday. So that'll be interesting to see who will come out ahead on that. I like that they're kind of doing that middle of the split. Makes it a little more exciting. And then I don't think there's too many more matchups that are really that exciting. TL NRG, that'll be really good to see how TL looks, if they're legit or not. Energy has a problem playing against the bottom half of the teams in the league. This was their issue last year before they went on their run. They could beat the good teams, but they couldn't beat the bad teams. So it'll be interesting to see how this week shapes up. We got some more interesting matchups that'll put us halfway-ish, a little bit less than halfway. Actually, no, that will put us halfway because it is a super week. That's right. So that'll put us halfway through the split, and we'll be able to see where the standings are at. See if we can get another dominant season from Cloud9. If they can go 3-0, be 6-1, that'll be impressive. But we'll see how the bottom of the standings shape up. I think Dig and Shopify play each other, and then we also got Immortals playing 100 Thieves, so that'll be interesting. So